Okay, call the order of the Lowell City Council regular meeting. 7 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Councilor Harris,
Here.
Councilor Stratus,
Present.
Councilor Weathers, Councilor Murray.
Dan, clear. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first off is the approval of the agenda. We have a request to add discussion for the fiscal year 23-24 budget as part of the other items, other business. Okay, anybody else see any questions or wants or desires for tonight? Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. We don't have one. Public comments. I see that we do have a letter in our packet. Okay, from Michael submitted a public comment regarding voting on part, which is included in the packet for review of the public and the city council. I think that would be put in the packet whenever it's put together.
It's already in there.
I mean, it's a final document.
Correct.
Okay, next up is public comments. Speakers will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Council may ask questions that will not be engaged in discussion or making decisions with you. Please direct all your comments to the mayor. And be polite, courteous, respectful when making your comments. Personal attacks and so formality and inflammatory comments will not be permitted. Do we have anybody that would like to speak? Name and address. Go ahead.
Larry Stanley, and I have a couple of riddles down at the end of West Second Street. I noticed a cartoon in the paper today with Snoopy making a 79th anniversary run on Monday. You remember that was when the U.S. rich back after the Nazis.
Good statement.
We lost a lot of young men in that time frame, as we did during the whole Nazi occupation. These guys put their bodies on the line for us today so that we can have a wonderful life. And I think that you know that Paul and I have been very frustrated with the fact that the city council, city manager, and the mayor have put on hold any attempt to force code section as it relates to the condition of the exterior of people's homes. And I find that interesting, especially since today's 79th. A lot of people die. It only takes your extra time to sit down with somebody who has a house that is not well taken care of, to remind them that there's a lot of pride in this community, but it's a little tough to see that pride represented by some of the households in this community. Not a lot, but there's a few. And I'm extremely disappointed that you have decided not to go and do anything about it. We did for a while, but then it was dropped. It's a way to earn extra money if people don't want to fix it. I think money is the reason why we're doing it. So I'd like to have you maybe reconsider going and talking to some of these people who have homes that dumps, don't care, and that ruin this wonderful community, which is situated in such a beautiful spot outside of Eugene's. Thank you.
Thank you. You wanted to speak? Name and address.
Paul Gordon, I live 426 East First.
Okay.
And we seem to have an issue with the road out there that has not been repaired since, last fall. It's almost exactly 7 months. I do have an air filter here, if you'd like for me to pull it out and have it scare all the dust in this room. I'd say we're kind of getting tired of everybody driving up through there real fast. And all the dust and dirt going all directions. I like to do stuff outside of my house, but I can't because there's much dust out there that nothing's been done. So when is it gonna be done?
Can you raise your hand first?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Don Jackson, I live at 419 East First. I'm across the street from him. Matter of fact, Don, I think we talked on the phone quite a while the other day. And my issues is like to know maybe a time frame, like to know what's going to happen when that road is going to be repaired. Because I live on this side, so we always get the wind coming across the lake. It wipes us out. We got mom living with us now. She has breathing issues. The whole house is just full of dust constantly. I just kind of wonder if you guys got an agenda for what, when, where, why, who might be involved in that. I'd like to have that kind of information, to see where we are with that. Hopefully we can have that fixed soon. I don't know. So that's all I want to ask.
Are you prepared to give anything tonight, or you want to bring it back on the 20th, or?
I can give a brief response to that if the council would like. The gentleman who just spoke had a good idea when he stopped by my office about a week or two ago about products that reduce dust. And I did look into that. I haven't had the opportunity to discuss that with the Public Works Director, but that is on my agenda. And in the meantime, that seems like the best option for us. Unfortunately, the cities did not cause the damage, and we're having to battle the people who did cause the damage. And until that gets resolved, it's going to be difficult for us to handle this situation. But the suggestion for the product that reduces dust was a good one, and we're looking into that.
The city would apply that. That's the idea, or what?
We would apply it ourselves.
It would just be a vote.
It would be for the dust on the road.
I hope that helps. It hasn't been something that's laid dormant. It's the Public Works, the both city administrator has dealt with this. There's been a lot of phone calls and closures. And so we keep trying to go forward and find a new door. So we're working it. I think everybody in town, whether you live where you do or any other parts, because going down First Street is much more desirable than windy wet road.
No, I don't fast rate of speed.
Yeah, but that's probably what they're doing anyway. They're blowing through on the dust. Sorry to hear that. Anybody have a thoughts on that?
Time frame?
A time frame?
I'm afraid I don't have a time frame to share at the moment.
If we can maybe come back on the 20th if you have time for start to get a feeling of it. Until we get a door to open, we don't have a time.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Andrew Larson, 657 North Moss, the Case City Council, just to touch upon what this gentleman's said here, and I've beat this horse 1,000 times over the last 10 years. So I probably killed the herd by now. But I'm gonna bring it back up again. Code enforcement, law enforcement, speeding. You, city council, you have this vision, you can build all the businesses you want and have all the roads you want. But if you're not gonna enforce code and you don't have a means to protect it, doesn't mean stay. And you can sweep that under the rug, like has been done for the last, I don't know how many decades, talk it up to vandalized bathrooms. Okay, which how much money have we spent on those in the park over the last 20 years? To know who's done it, enforce it, punish them, make them pay for it. But nothing's gonna be worth anything in this town if you're not gonna enforce code or the law, or have a means to protect anything, that's personal or property. So everything is just kind of mute. Everybody thinks it's no big deal. Time has been going away. And I've been seeing, it's been swept under the rug here. It's kept silent. I can cite dozens of examples over the last 2.5 decades I've been out here. It's just sad. It's absolutely sad. And it's abhorrent, really. I mean, what does that really say about this town? If we can't even write a simple speeding ticket, somebody that's going 100 miles an hour plus up the road, easy, $500, boom, slide it into muni court. We're here because of the money. We have a court, don't we? We have a judge. It's a cash cow. But you gotta start somewhere. Honestly, I don't even know what Oak Ridge PD does.
Question. Thank you. That's all, please.
Yep.
You can say it if you want, or stand if you want.
Okay, thank you. Oregon 62 East Third. I just wish, that the council and the mayor would start taking a little pride in our nice little town. And like they say, start cleaning the town up. I know you're afraid you're gonna open up a big can of worms, but you gotta start somewhere. And hopefully if you start, people will get the hint. The other thing is this. I pay taxes, put money into this town like everybody else for services at this point not rendered. I'm referring to the restrooms that have been shut down for months. And I understand the problem, but the city administrator has no issue with selling pieces of property, city property, to do whatever he has to do with grant stuff. But my suggestion is sell a piece of property, take that money and put it toward the restrooms. And like Paul Fisher, get the restrooms going, get the fountain going, get the swing set ordered. And just get with the program instead of sitting here and doing nothing. Now I'm gonna stop because I'm getting this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council? First item on the agenda is a presentation by Andy Lowell, Vice President of Stakeholder Relations, Travel Lane County. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, for the opportunity to come and give you a little update on the work of Travel Lane County, and give you a little background. I'm not sure everyone understands or knows what we do as an organization, so I thought a little background would be helpful as we get started, and then we'll drill into a little bit more on programmatic activities. So go ahead. So we are a 501c6. We're not part of Lane County. We are a professional nonprofit organization that's created to utilize the lodging tax to build the visitor industry in Lane County. And there's more information there, but suffice it to say that we are Travel Lane County. Sometimes people call us Eugene, Cascades, and Coast. That's our marketing positioning for the region. But our organization is Travel Lane County. We've been around, as you can see there, since 1979. Next slide. We have a large board. We have a large county the size of Connecticut. So we have a big board that represents all of our communities and the work we do throughout the county. So it's a 30-member board. We have about 8 or 9 currently ex officio members. So it's a large board that advises and guides the organization. And we want to have both geographic distribution of those board members as well as industry specific. And so you can see a little bit about that there. But it's a great board and very involved. We have a couple of people from up river here, up the valley, Linda Kammerer from Oak Ridge, and then Tracy Snowflower, the Westford Lodge and Mountain Market in West. On the Village Current. Next slide. These are some of our guiding principles, and the one I want to focus on here just for a second is our mission. It's a very simple mission, and that's to increase overnight visitors. The better we are at doing that, the more our county sees in terms of visitor spending in the area. And that creates tax revenues that help communities throughout the entire county. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about specifically, who we target within that visitor realm. Next slide. We are fortunate to be part of a distribution channel in terms of the information and how we promote our destination businesses that work with us. So at the top level is Travel Oregon and Sport Oregon. Travel Oregon was established by the legislature in 2003, and they do a fantastic job marketing the state of Oregon to the rest of the United States and the world. Very good organization. They also fund 7 regional programs. So the state gets split up into 7 regions. We happen to overlap with 2 of those because of the size of our county and the configuration of the county. So we're part of the Willamette Valley Visitor Association, that regional destination program, and the Oregon Coast Visitor Association. Those regional programs, they look at the region as a whole and figure out ways to market and develop assets within those regions. So we're pretty fortunate again to be able to work with them on programs, getting grant resources for our businesses, etc. Travel Lane County, as the destination marketing organization, is charged with promoting the county for visitor travel. And then we work with all 10 chambers of commerce. We have reciprocal membership relationships with all 10 chambers of commerce in the county. Many times those chambers of commerce are visitor centers or run visitor centers for the county. Probably familiar with several of those. Probably the biggest one being the one in Florence right there on the corner. And then we have our business partners. So we are a partnership membership-based organization as a 501c6, same designation as a chamber of commerce. And so businesses choose to partner with us, pay minimal dues to be part of this program, and that exposes them through a number of different marketing channels that we have and gives them opportunities to market in other ways through some other channels that we'll touch on here briefly. And all those businesses, deliver the experience to our visitors. They do a fantastic job. We have just great hospitality businesses throughout Maine. So what does that mean in terms of spending? We just got the 2022 numbers circled there in red. And so destination spending, the top line there, about $1.1 billion brought in. So we're a trade sector economy. So it's people bringing their money from outside the area into the region. So about $1.1 billion in first time spending by visitors in Lane County in 2022. And then about another $290 million spent by residents within the county, either traveling within the county or maybe going on vacation, buying airline tickets, etc. So about a $1.4 billion business here in Lane County. Statewide, it totals about $12.9 billion. So we're a big part of the state income in terms of their generation of spending by visitors. And if you look back a couple of years in 2020 with COVID, you can see it dropped down to 414 million. So it took a big bite, but we could also see how quickly it came back. And it just shows the pent up demand that there was for travel. People wanted to get out. And actually it came back probably more quickly here than in a lot of places because we have such a great outdoor rec destination, a lot of open spaces. People could, even through COVID, get out and do staycations or get away a little bit. Actually, Florence had 2 of their best years in 2020 and 2021 because people could go to the coast and get away from the crowds. Next slide. So this is a look at then the lodging tax that's generated from those overnight stays in commercial lodging, and that includes all of our hotels. It includes short-term rentals, campgrounds, and places like that collect the lodging tax. And you can see we were after the Great Recession, which is not on the slide, but then we were on kind of a 10-year growth pattern until we hit COVID, and again, it dropped, but not as significantly as we thought it might, lost about 20%, but it started growing quickly again, and FY22 set an all-time record. And FY22, again, ended in July of 2022, so it didn't include that, which you'll see in the next slide. Another look at this data on the calendar year. So those red lines, you can see in 2022, every red line was exceeding the prior years by a significant amount. And again, lodging tax is calculated based on the rates people pay, in addition to, you know, the demand that's out there, how full these commercial lodging properties are. So it's a combination of those things, you know, more visitor demand, but also rate rebounded very well. And anybody that's traveled will know if you stayed in a hotel recently, rates are not very generous to the customer anyway. But we don't have data on October, November, December. Unfortunately, the county, who is contracting with the city of Eugene to collect the tax countywide, we got great reports out of the city of Eugene, monthly reports, so we could always kind of track, you know, the trends and how things were going. They decided to move that collection process to the Department of Revenue at the state. And so there's this transition period, and the state collects on a quarterly basis. So we missed any data from October through December. So we didn't get any collections. You know, we would get a monthly check before, and then all of a sudden we got nothing for 3 months. And the first 3 months of the calendar year, those taxes aren't due until April. So January or March quarter paid in April. So fortunately, we had enough reserves to stay afloat during that 7-day period. Our first check, but we don't have monthly data anymore. So we're rebuilding our dashboards to be able to collect this data and be able to analyze how we're doing. So we will see our fiscal year again ends end of this month. We'll have that data later in the fall, so it'll lag a little bit for us. Next slide. We're gonna look at this data one other way, and that's on our fiscal year. So you can see there now that yellow line was the July of last year when the World Athletics Championships came to the region, and it set an all-time record by leaps and bounds. We got over $2.6 million just in 1 month in July of last year. So you can see that impact that had. But the reason I put this slide in there is it shows the trough. So again, you know, we make most of our money made on October when the weather's nicer and people are coming here and modeling a variety of things. There's a lot more activity in the summer. And so our board is really looking at this trough in the middle of winter and figure out what we can do to drive winter demand, because that really helps mostly our lodging and our restaurants who struggle to keep people employed when you see that kind of drop in the off season. So working on a number of projects to fill that gap. Next slide. So there are 3 target markets that our team works on. Tourism, which is the leisure traveler. So we want to try to inspire leisure travelers to come here and spend their vacations here. We work with convention planners, conventions and meetings, big business, bringing those folks into town for their conventions and then getting them out, maybe come early or stay late to enjoy the rest of the county. And then the same with sports, and I'll end with here in your examples for you guys to go here, get to that point. But you see that customer journey. This is really kind of where our team does its work. You know, inspiration is really done through marketing. Our marketing is done in a 500-mile drive market. So up to about Spokane over to Boise, we get a lot of people. We pull a lot of people out of Portland just because of a variety of reasons. You know, some of the other destinations up there are getting very crowded. So people find it attractive to come out here. So some research tools. We'll talk here in a minute about our website, how robust that is. We get them to book their trip, experience whatever they're doing here, whether it be outdoor rec, sports, the performing arts, all the other things that we have to offer, and then they share that experience with others and encourage other people to come here. So in the tourism and the leisure marketing side, again, with this marketing, we have what we call always on. So we always have some marketing out in these drive, and I didn't mention the direct fly markets. Those are our other areas where we really target people that have a direct flight into the region. And then we have campaign pulses, and we can go to the next slide. This is kind of our current campaign. It's called Come and Stay. And you can kind of see some of the imagery we use, a lot of digital advertising because we can track it and we can remarket to people who click on our ads when they see them digitally. So we do a lot with digital. We've got a big campaign going right now. We have some new tracking tools so we can track primarily through cell phone use and spending data from credit cards. We can track where people are coming from, where they travel within the county, and how much they spend. And so we're starting to see that data really help us target some markets. So we've got a big campaign going in the San Francisco Bay Area right now. Because when we looked at the spend data, people from that area who are coming here spend a whole lot more than people from other destinations. And so we said, we're going to go after those folks. So we got a really cool digital buy going right now. They're electronic billboards that then kind of ping people's cell phones as they pass it, and then they can react to that. And we're seeing tremendous response to that. So we can kind of inspire them, kind of take them down that funnel and hopefully get them to really consider coming here and booking a trip. The other campaign that we're doing this spring is more of a localized campaign. It's called an Explorer campaign. We did some co-op advertising that we offered to some of our partners. And we're really, again, targeting more local residents in the county to get out and experience the rest of the county and spend some of their dollars here locally. Next slide. So our integrated marketing team, I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but they do a lot of creation of our photography, videography, which we offer to any of our partners. So anytime the city needs, photography, video, we've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of B-roll video. We've got thousands of graphic, photographic images, and we share that freely with our partners to be able to promote the region. So keep that in mind. But secondly, on the next slide, go ahead. They just created a redo of our website. It's the first update of our website in about 10 years. And so we're really excited about this. It just launched about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and the early numbers are just staggering. We've been really fortunate with our team and the content they create on this site to be able to really keep people coming back to our site. A lot of organizations like ours lost 50% or more of their traffic to Google, and Google owns the space, right? It's where everybody goes to find information. And so DMO websites like this just saw a tank in terms of people visiting their site. We have actually been able to grow ours over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And we're up to about 1.3 million unique visitors to our site. So that's a lot of people who come to our site to examine the county and determine whether they want to come here and what we have to offer. So wanted to touch on that, give them a big shout out. So next slide. Every time I come out to a community, then when I talk about the website, we'll talk about the visitor guide here in a second, but I always want to highlight that each of our communities has their own section. And I always encourage you to go to that, become familiar with it, and tell us if we got something wrong or you missed something, because we'll fix it. And we want you to shine. So if you look at that and you see something that's missing, be sure to let us know. And while I'm here, I'll just touch on our new visitor guide. Came out about 8 weeks ago. So the visitor guide is a great in-market piece. We do it with the 3 covers: Eugene, Cascades, and Coast, same insides. Brought copies for each of you guys, and encourage you to look through that and see all the great things that are going on in the county. That gets distributed to about 120,000 of those. Those get distributed through the main welcome centers as people enter the state. So they're available at those main welcome centers. They go out to our partner hotels, any partner who wants them to distribute them. And then people request them. And the next slide, just want to highlight, some recent wins for you all. you guys have a gym up here in Dexter. It's really well known as one of the premier places to row. And we have a new sports commission staff. They've been together about 8 months now. With the two people that were in the primary positions in that, left for other organizations in other states. And we're really lucky with the staff that we were able to hire, and they are just energized and doing a lot of great work. And so wanted just to highlight a couple of things that you are probably well aware of. They're doing here in the rowing championships with the Pac-12s, the professional disc golf masters that just happened, and the coming Northwest Masters Rowing Championships. Just the rowing in terms of economic impact estimates is about $1.7 million just in those few things that have happened this year. So it's bringing dollars again into the region, and that's great. And we've got, I think, some great opportunities to work with you all to make some improvements out there that will even make it more attractive and bring even more folks up this way. That on the right is one of our KMTR co-op ads I was talking about. If you can click on that, Jeremy, that's a video. I don't know if we have audio.
Explore sports in the Eugene, Cascades, and Coast region, and help us welcome hundreds of rowers and fans for the U.S. Rowing Northwest Masters Regional Championships. To Dexter Reservoir, from June 23rd through 25th, to see some of the best Masters class rowers in the country compete in this exciting regatta. Come out and explore rowing.
So with this KMTR co-op advertising, we had some of our partners that bought into this too. And so we had the kind of the beginning and end few seconds with the Explore campaign kind of to the intro and exit. And then we were able to offer that to our sports commission. And what they did is then they created a separate commercial for each of the events that's been happening. And then KMTR just swapped them out after the last event ended. So it's been good getting some information out about these events. Next slide, I think. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, I could go on for days talking about all the great things that go on in this county, and stop and see if you have any questions. Yes.
How closely do you work, if at all, with
the pretty closely. I mean, they had their own conventions team because, within all the different schools at the university, they're hosting meetings and convention work all the time. So they really have their own staff that manages most of that within the confines of the university. But, on sporting events, again, we don't get involved in, obviously, they're kind of collegiate sports things, but everybody comes together when we're bidding for.
the reason I asked, and I'll confess I work for U of O.
Yeah.
U of O puts a lot of effort into building connections throughout the country and internationally. And so you have these groups of populations that are invested in the university, invested in Oregon, and if they're not seeing your information, if they're planning trips anyway, having access to this might be helpful for them. So that might be something that you might be interested in talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that they have been involved in that in some ways, but I think there's always more opportunities. So, yeah, one of the big things we've seen on the horizon is with the development of the Knight Center for Accelerated Scientific Learning, and chance for, as they kind of come up with discoveries, to host symposiums. So we're excited to see the second one. All of the work that's going on there. Yeah. Yes, hey, thank you. And if anything comes up later, please reach out. Again, we're excited to partner with you. One of the positions that we just filled on my team, we have a brand new destination development manager. And he's just brand new to the, he graduated from the university and got his master's there, but he's been working he's just getting out to communities, and then with our sports commission staff, I know they're excited. You know, that's their role, is to really kind of connect with all of our communities and figure out, you know, what are the assets you want to develop in terms of tourism assets, and how can we help find money, find the resources.
We need some money to rebuild our restrooms.
It sounds like you're not the only one. No, yeah, no, I know. I mean, those things are important for sure. And, those same discussions, you know, happen a lot around some of the county facilities that were burned up on a farm fire, and some of those facilities haven't gotten placed there either.
The county's done pretty well for themselves in terms of bond measures. I think we fund, you know, rebuild a lot of their infrastructure.
It's coming, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things that, we're happy to kind of put our heads together with your team and figure out if we can find a way. And stuff. Yeah.
Good thought.
Thank you, really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. That's you.
And where did you say these are available?
Where?
Just at your headquarters there,
Well, we distribute to all of our partners, but yeah, we have them at our visitor center downtown Eugene on Olive Street.
With these chamber of commerce is.
Yeah, yeah. And, but happy to supply them to you all.
That'd be a good thing to have at the Blackberry Jam this year.
that's what.
Yeah, the Blackberry Jam.
Yeah, one of the things,
When you have something going on, it's always nice.
yeah,
I keep one. You're
we hire an additional staff position during the summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day to get our visitor service team out to fairs and festivals to table. And so we've been at that festival in the past, and I've checked with our manager to see if it's on the calendar for this year, but I'll be sure next to see if we're on. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up for public hearings. Okay. Because we're limited to 3 minutes, council may ask questions if you want. The public hearings, Oregon statutes require the council to hold public hearings on matters where the public can comment. Oregon land laws, use laws require cities to hold public hearings on certain types of land use decisions. Oregon local government budgets law requires cities to hold public hearings where the public can comment on the budget before adoption. Public hearings are dedicated to items of open discussion and heard within a regular meeting for which public input is desired. The public will be allowed to make presentations to the council and give a reasonable opportunity to be heard concerning. We have like 4, 5 items tonight, seems like. Okay. We'll be going into a public hearing. We are recessed at 7:38, and we're opening the public hearing at 7:38. First item on the list of public hearings on page 8, resolution 800, a resolution authorizing the sale of real property located at map and tax lot there is listed, and authorizing the city administrator to execute all documents necessary to complete the sale. Mr. Connolly, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. On April 19th, the city marketed the vacant lot on the 70 North Pioneer Street campus as for sale. We advertised the sale through the multiple listing service, the city website and Facebook page, and with a large for sale sign. In response, we received 3 offers. A summary of the offers is as follows. First offer was from Hunter Harris. He offered a purchase price of $65,000 with a $5,000 deposit. The offer also requires the city to pay closing costs, and the offer agrees to purchase the property as is. The second offer is from TYJB LLC with a purchase price of $90,000. There's a deposit of $5,000. Other terms, the buyer agrees to pay all escrow fees and to purchase the property as is. The third offer is from Brothers Plumbing with a purchase price of $60,250 with a 10% deposit. Other terms, the offer agrees to improve the alleyway for access. The state law requires the city to hold a public hearing prior to completing the sale of the property. We advertise the public hearing in the Registered Guard as well as on the city website. After the public hearing, the council may vote to accept the offer. We will close shortly thereafter. And the proceeds from the sale are to be directed towards offsetting the cost and reducing the loan for the 70 North Pioneer Street construction, the City Hall renovation project. Correct.
Do we have anybody want to speak either for or against the sale of the land? Not hearing, not seeing. The public hearing is closed. 7:41. Next up is resolution 801, a resolution establishing water and sewer rates to be effective July 1st, 2023. The public hearing is now open at 7:41. Mr. Conley will speak to this.
Yes. At the May 24th meeting, the Budget Committee voted to recommend approval of the utilities rates as specified on page 3 of the memo that I prepared for that meeting's packet. The vote was 5 in favor, 2 against, with 1 member absent. The change in rates is as follows. For the water, monthly service charge per equivalent dwelling unit. The current rate is $28.21 per month, proposed $42.61 per month. Variable rate for less than 5,000 gallons per 1,000 gallon. Current $5.66, proposed $6.95. For the variable rate over 5,000 gallons per 1,000 gallon, current $7.13, proposed $13.91. Bulk water per 1,000 gallon, current $10.22, proposed $10.73. Fire hydrant fee, current $13.27, proposed $13.99. For the sewer, the monthly service charge per EDU, current $67.14, proposed $74.84. Gray water disposal per gallon, 16 cents, proposed 17 cents. This is a public hearing to give members of the public the opportunity to comment. A vote on the proposed changes is scheduled for June 20th. As we saw at the beginning of this meeting, there is a discussion item under other business for the council to continue its deliberations on this matter.
Do we have any comments for or against it? Bill? David,
My name is Bill George, and I live at 125 Maria Vista Drive. And I just wanted to comment on the fact that I was on the budget committee. And the first meeting that we had at the budget committee, that it came down that we just didn't understand the fact that we're not able to sell as much water as we used to. And all of a sudden, the second meeting, an auditor's report came out and said, well, let me say, in the first meeting, the rates were supposed to be raised as they are right now. On the second meeting, the auditor report came down and found another $40,000 in the water fund that we didn't know we had. And we do need a piece of material or a machine to help us run the water plant. And I thought it was $70,000. So we have that $40,000, we're borrowing $30,000 from the sewer department. And so we got that taken care of. But the rates still stay the same. And now we're looking at a contingency of something like $100,000. And that is in case something goes wrong. First of all, it is beyond me that we were able to sell a certain amount of water before any new houses were being built. And Max said, and he's probably right about this, that the new houses have a They're water misers in a way, the toilets don't flush as much water as the old ones do. The dishwashers are probably water savers, but there still has to be more water being sold to the constituents out there because there's new houses. And we got 14 more new houses going up off of 14th Street. But nobody's talking about watching what the heck we're doing with these rates. And I'm telling you, there is people in this town that, raising water rates like this is just gonna be too much for them. And we're also gonna get a name here in Lowell that, boy, over there, the water rates and sewer rates are crazy. Sewer department's doing really well, but we're still raising the rates in the sewer department as well. So, you know, before you go to this much, please, really take a hard look at it. There's a bunch of ways you can go, even to the fact that wage freeze to save money for the city. There's just a ton of ways to think about this before you go ahead and raise the rates. In our government in Washington DC, they just can't. It's not in them to stop. Let's not raise these rates until we really find out. The other thing that came out is, yeah, well, we're gonna hire some guy for $30,000 to come and tell us how to do this. But damn it, we're all here. We see what's going on. The numbers should tell us what's going on. And I think once you get all this new stuff that's coming in, and it's not over yet, there's still going to be some building in this town, I hope. But let's find out what those new houses, 14 more of them up on the street, they're all going to be sold by the end of the summer. And they're going to be buying water from the city. So I just hope that you take a look at this. This is a tough one. And I voted no for this. And my neighbor voted no. He's an accountant. He said, I just don't understand. The numbers aren't telling me what really is going on. So I hope this made some sense.
North Mall. So there was a lot of talk at the last meeting about affordable housing out here and the shortage thereof. So I'm kind of confused how we're supposed to bring families in that, let's say the baseline, 350,000, if that's even correct on an affordable house, it's still astronomical. How they're gonna afford these water and sewer rates? It just seems kind of counterproductive. So, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish with raising the rates, but please think about that, in the wake of the affordable housing crisis, which there certainly is. And, what kind of an environment you want to create out here, because I'm on a fixed budget, okay? There's lots of people on a fixed budget. So, let's not forget those on a fixed budget. Let's not forget the elderly. Let's not forget the young families that you want to have come out here and live, go to the schools, pay into the taxes. So before you guys decide to raise the rates, I mean, I know, Jeremy, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know you don't live out here. And I know I've mentioned this before about having a vested interest. I don't want to make any assumptions, but perhaps it's because there is no affordable housing. I don't know. So let's think about it before we raise the rates. No way of wanting to bring people out here. We only have so many houses we can build here in the city of Lowell. We don't have the real estate. Can't build up there, can't build on the water, unless you're willing to expand the footprint once that's locked in. So keep in mind on what the goals are long term in terms of livability and affordability, please. Don't make a decision, don't raise, think about it, you guys. This is a huge decision, because you can't go back.
We do have a discussion item for that, so hopefully they will be covered. That's all.
I'm gonna stand up. Okay. Oregon 62 East Third, I just want to thank everybody trying to put the screws to the citizens of our town.
Anybody else?
George Wall, 200 Green Vista Drive. Yeah, I agree somewhat with what's been said, particularly about what's the median income for Lowell? Do we have that number?
54,000.
Yeah, and the thing is, we have a lot of young couples, families who are not on a lot of money. You really go down to the food bank and see what goes on there. And what other community has increased the rates by 20%? That is astronomical. There's got to be another way that we can increase it gradually somehow. Because it's just a horrible situation. It really is. And like we said, it doesn't encourage people coming to it. I don't know if there's another way of taking a loan. I'm not too familiar with those things these days to cover some of this and pay it down. But 23% is a lot. I mean, what other cities around have increased the water rates to that extent in one go? I don't know, it'd be interesting to see, and it would really put us on a map in a negative way. But I think somehow there's got to be something, looking at it in a different way somehow. It's easy to say, oh, raise the rates so much %, but, you know, people can't afford this. I mean, Sanipac hit us all up with a massive increase. Look at that. You know, we just passed it. We renewed the bond for the jail. That's a steady income. We're going to have another bond somewhere pretty soon. Somebody that wants it to be funded, and you know, people on a fixed income, it just doesn't work. It's very difficult. It really is. So just be guarded. That's all I can say.
Council, anything? The public hearing on resolution 801. Closed at 7:51. Next up is resolution 802, a resolution declaring the city election to receive state revenues for fiscal year 23-24. The public hearing is open at 52. Purpose of this hearing is to provide the public with an opportunity to suggest potential uses of the state revenue sharing fund. The city of Lowell anticipates receiving the following for the fiscal year: state revenue sharing 11,800, cigarette tax 800, liquor tax 23,680, marijuana tax 2,400. Okay. Do you have any public comments for or against the state revenue money we're going to be receiving? Seeing not in, we're closed at 7:53. Next up is resolution 803, a resolution to adopt a budget impose categorized taxes for the fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Public open hearing is open at 7:53. Mr. Cobb.
This is a public hearing to give members of the public the opportunity to comment on the budget that the Budget Committee approved on May 24th. The Budget Committee approved the budget reflected in Resolution 803, which is in the packet and posted online. In accordance with the local budget law, the city published Form LB1 in the Register Guard on May 31st. We also put it on the city website in the interest of encouraging the citizens to review the budget. We also mailed it in our utility bills. And we also put it in the most recent article for the bridge. We will incorporate any changes from the public hearing into the final budget, which is tentatively scheduled for a vote on June 30th. Excuse me, June 20th.
Okay. That closed at 7:55. Next up, resolution 804, resolution certifying services. Okay. Public hearing is now open at 7:55. Mr. Cottle, please.
We are required to certify to the state every year that we provide a certain level of services that qualifies us to receive state revenue sharing. We intend to certify, as we have in the past, police protection, street construction, maintenance and lighting, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, planning, zoning and subdivision control, and water and utilities service. In the past, we've put this on the agenda to give the public the opportunity to comment.
Any comment? Not hearing anything. We are closed at 7:56. And the public hearing overall is closed at 7:59. First item of business, new business, motion to approve resolution 800, a resolution authorizing the sale of real property lot on the map tax lot 19011424045500, and authorize city administrator to execute all documents necessary to complete the sale. That's on page 33 in the packet. Mr. Collar, would you like to speak to that?
I have just one comment to add to what I mentioned in the public hearing. On page 7 of the contract, under additional provisions, I had some correspondence with the buyer, and I'm going to handwrite after closing, the buyer agrees to obtain a long-term residential right-of-way for the alleyway access. So I'll be handwriting it in there. I'll initial, and both parties have agreed to that.
Any questions by the council?
I also had the city attorney to review this, and he was fine with the documentation before you tonight.
If there is a motion to be easily as amended.
No, the vote is on the resolution authorizing me to execute all the documentation.
Any questions about the sale of the property? Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Okay, we got a motion by Maureen, second by Gail, to approve the resolution 800, a resolution authorizing the sale of real property and authorize the city administrator to execute all documentation necessary. Other discussion, questions? Okay. All those in favor of motion to approve resolution 800, the resolution authorizing the sale of real property located on map and tax lot 19011424045500, and authorizing the city administrator to execute all documents necessary to complete the sale, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Okay, we're down to other business. Okay, and I think what we want to do is the business was open up discussion having to do with the budget. Colin, you want to start off on this?
I would defer to the council to start the discussion.
Well, first off, I'd like to say that I've already engaged in council discussion to utilize at least some of the franchise fees collected from the Santa Pat franchise agreement to supplement our utility assistance program for the people that fit within the guidelines of that. I asked Jeremy previous to the meeting tonight to send me kind of the guidelines, but I didn't really get everything I wanted out of that, Jeremy. What I would like to do, so we raised it from 25 to 30% for the amount that we assist with. I would like to see that raised up some. Otherwise, I think in the numbers, it turns out to be almost a wash in terms of where it nullifies the program that we've engaged in. So at least 5%, possibly more. And then I'd also like to see an expansion, and I don't know at what percent of the poverty rate you set the bar at for qualifying for the program, or if there's any other caveats that allow you, whether you're somebody on Medicare or Social Security, a veteran, somebody on disability, what the whole program looks like in terms of who is eligible for the program. But I would like to make sure that we're helping as many people out that are on fixed incomes and really can't afford these raises, the young families that were mentioned tonight, and other members of the community that might have a hard time dealing with this program. I want to go as far as we can to make sure that we're not letting people fall through the cracks. That water is a pretty important thing, and I want to make sure that the people who are here have water. I think that's real important. So, yes, ma'am.
Since you're on that topic, let me start with one thing, and first a question. Is the Covered Bridge Estates billed as residential or commercial? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. It's something that I think we need to look at. It is our affordable housing, and I noticed that in the audit that they're our second largest user of water. And I don't know much about it, but it looks as though the utilities are included in the rent. And so I'm worried again for affordability that if they're not paying those utilities themselves, then they wouldn't be eligible for utility assistance because it's going to be in their rent. And that just occurred to me when I got this report out of the back of the audit and then Andrew brought it up, you brought this up. So it occurs to me that we might want to look at that. Most of the top users, you have to go down quite a bit before you get to somebody private. It's either the Covered Bridge Estates or the city or the school district. So, we're burdening the burden already, and especially with regard to the affordable housing. I just would add that in. We hadn't seen that before. Whether they would be eligible or how. Or utility assistance when we raise the rates that much.
Yeah, I think the discussion would probably have to be had with the management group of Covered Bridge Estates to find out if they're planning, is this something where they're going to raise the rents to accommodate this? Doesn't fit with the paradigm of the utility assistance program because it's really not, they're not eligible for it because it's a secondhand taxation or fee basically that have to have their rent increase versus their water bill because they don't have water.
So on that note, I believe as our current program guidelines are structured, you actually have to have an account with the city. So in that case, it doesn't sound like they would qualify.
So, I mean, we could, but could we always, do something to, make a policy that says, or deal with Covered Bridge Estate that to adjust to that based on what's being said here. There's, I don't know how many apartments there are over there. Probably 14 is my guess, ballpark. That
24 you.
They're 24 that intersection.
That's good.
It could be close to that. But to help work with those folks because I think the majority of folks over there are on rental systems, and if there's no way for them to engage in it, it costs them more money than they're just liable to not be able to afford the rent. We're talking about pushing people out of their housing because of the water bill.
I know
That's low income housing, isn't it?
They can.
So their rents are based on their income. I mean, strictly. So if the water rate is in there,
I would find it hard to believe that any management group
don't know
would
if that
take
would-
this raise and not.
I don't know how that works. I was just
I
curious,
don't know
since
how
they're
that
the second biggest user in the city of Lowell, it was just a question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And then when it got brought up about affordability, that's fine. Okay.
I'm curious how the Santa Fe thing will affect as well, because that means they don't pay for the garbage for recycling.
Right. I'll need to look at some here.
Electric stuff.
that's state or federal, isn't
I
it?
think
That's not.
And we need to ask, but
Yes.
they could easily explain all that. Because they have guidelines for your income, and if they're saying they're gonna provide all that, yeah. But it would be worth checking. Well, I have a question because, we got an email from Jeremy that said one of us asked a question in terms of reducing the rates.
Yes,
So do we have some ideas? Because while people think we don't, we care. Care very much.
Not surprisingly, I've been spending a few days trying to look at this. And there are a couple of things, and one of the biggest, and I don't understand it really. When we started looking at a lot of stuff, I went out and I got a list of, like, there's about 30 cities. Half that have population, half of us to us, and then twice as much. So whenever we get something like this and I got a question, I start going out to their websites and I look at stuff. I only looked at 6 out of 30 near our size, but I can't find anybody else that has a utility franchise fee for their own water and sewer treatment. I'm sure it's legal, I'm sure it's legit, but it's a lot of money that we're basically transferring to the general fund. Because franchise fees, like with Sanapac, it's to pay for the city roads. The utilities, it's to pay for the city right away. That's basically what I understood franchise fees to be. So this was new to me. And when I look over time, which it was only started in 21-22. So just 2 years, plus we're estimating that third one. So
Or the, like, the fire season started.
it was when, I don't know when you started. It started in fiscal 21-22. So we've done it 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so it got adopted in 19, and then we went through the financing for the main and lake view. Remember, we pulled it, so we tabled it. Marcia brought it back, and then Jeremy actually adopted it. So it got tabled for 2 years. But yes, it was officially adopted by council in 19. But didn't get, the first franchise payment was not until 21-22.
We haven't started making the transfer until 21-22, so 2 years plus this proposed one. So I'm not even sure we can go back, and I'm sure we can't, but it's proposed to be for the water fund, $31,660 for this year. And almost 31,000 for the sewer fund. So, but over time, over these 3 years, the 2 that are actually made and the one proposed, that's $70,000 to the water fund. Just for, because we said we're gonna do a franchise fee. They're not, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I get that it's a, transfers to the general fund are a good thing, especially when your business funds are making money. It's a legitimate way to do it. It's a good thing to do. We can do more, you know, this discretionary spending in general fund. We can do more. And when the utility funds are flush, which a lot of times they are, and we've gone through periods like that, that's an appropriate thing to do. Not when our utility funds are broke. So to me, I'm looking at this and I just stumbled on it. I can't even remember how I came across this, but oh, it's a comment in the year, 2 years ago, but or audit. $70,000. That means that we could be looking at $70,000 more in the ending fund balance if we had to transfer that, excuse me, over to the general fund. I get that it's being put to good use in the general fund, but one of our goals was not to rob Peter to pay Paul, which I support. You know, it's easy to say, oh, that one's got money. So we said we weren't going to do that, but we're doing that. We've already done it 2 years in a row, and we're proposing another $30-some thousand in the water fund. And also another almost 31,000 this year in the sewer fund. So, boy, that was eye-opening. And I thought, great, we can talk about that. Then, another one, and this came up in a budget committee meeting about, I think one of the reports we saw or something said we had $1 million of cash in the bank, and we asked whether that was, in a, FDIC only insures up to $200,000, and my work in the school district, we participated in the, basically a savings account with the state. So the school district would move practically everything over $250,000 over to the LDIP fund because the interest is a lot more. Now, back in the day when it was like 0.1% and then it, was 0.5%, not that big a deal, but when interest rates started rising, boy, they were booking thousands of dollars more in interest than budgeted because and it's, you gotta move money and you gotta move it back. I overdrew the bank account once, made it up before it ever hit the statement. But, but all I can find, I can't really find that breakdown, but as of June 30, again, in this audit that we got, there's over $500,000 at that point, just cash in the bank. I presume that's our Banner checking account. I don't know, and $1 million in the LGIP. So the city, we are using the LGIP, but I think there's some cash management, some very simple stuff that doesn't take a new position to do that could be thousands. And I know there's not any one, we just found $1 million. I think when governments do that, it's like, what do you mean found $1 million? Like there's a bottom drawer there someplace. It really just sounds bad. But the nice thing that I've always liked about Lowell is $500 can make a big difference in donations and stuff. And 10,000 can make a big difference in our budget, especially when you can find a bunch of little tens to add together. Then we're talking real money. So I was pleased to see that we do take advantage of the LGIP, but I think we can do more. And I think that's an easy thing. Who gets gored, cut, anything like that. And then I'm only going to bring up one other thing because it could go on, and I don't want to be the city's budget person, but and this isn't as much again as some of the others, but I just learned, I don't think I knew that when Max explained at the second budget committee that the sewer plant isn't using processed water as much, and the budget does reflect a little bit of that down, which was good. I didn't think it would yet, but it has a bit. But I think there's still room there. Here, that annualized for this current year, the annualized water service, based on our actual, what we kind of expect is about $9,000, and we budgeted 18. So there's going to be some savings that are going to drop, to ending fund balance there. For 23-24, that budget was reduced to about 11 grand, but I still think it might be a little bit. Anyway, that's close, but there's another $10,000 that's probably going to drop, just on one line item without doing anything. And those are just the easy things, so, and I know it's real easy for me to sit here and poke out 3 things and sound like, I don't mean to be critical. We're busy, you're busy, but I just don't think we've investigated some of these things that would be low-hanging fruit that don't make anybody go away or accept a lower raise than they deserve or anything like that, and don't jack up rates 23%. I've got so much heartburn over that, I can't tell you. I'd like it to be half of that. And that would be huge. We went from 3% increase to 5% increase. We did the 5% increase on the same $40,000 ending balance projection last year that we were starting in this time. I know we're up against the gun on timeline. I do, but it didn't, I don't even know this business's accounting system, and I think the people that do could really help us. If we could find some time and take some other things off to where Jeremy can do that and work with Layla, work with Max, you know, the people that know. I, with all good conscience, I cannot support the straight increase. For a lot of reasons, and it's not about ability to pay, it's just not right.
Anyone else want to speak to this?
Sorry for the preaching.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to hear more about the franchise fee, and we talked so much about it. Could Jeremy or Mac, could you explain why? What does it serve?
Yes, the intention behind the franchise fee is, for one, like any other utility, to ensure a full cost accounting. We apply a franchise fee to all other utilities. And the second is, as Councilor Weathers alluded to, is to provide additional resources to the general fund. That is one of the ways that we are able to balance the general fund.
So if we didn't do franchise fees now, then we'd be trouble.
There would be impacts to the general fund, yes. And I'm happy to do that analysis so that we can look at it at your next council meeting.
Seems like we should. I mean, like Maureen said, you know, if they're good, I mean, it's not a bad thing to do, but if that's a place we can find some relief for the moment, so we can figure out what we're gonna do going forward and not hit everybody quite so hard all at once, then, you know, then we need to explore that. And any other, I don't know how long it's been paid on some of these things.
I think we had also discussed with the budget meeting an option of, you know, our ultimate goal is to have $100,000 contingency for the water fund. About doing a phased approach and trying to reach that versus trying to reach that all in 1 year.
I thought it was 50. I thought we were down to 50.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
So we did take it down.
Yes,
Correct.
it's 100 between
Water.
sewer and water, but it's only 50.
So I just did some quick math here with the $70,000 for water and sewer franchise. That would result in approximately $140 per year saving for our customers. Just about.
Okay, one for you, I tell you what, I completely support the holding off the franchise fees for the water and sewers. I think if it was years past, they had money, you didn't have expenses. We're looking at expenses now that are pretty severe coming up this year and into the following year. And I have to completely support what she mentioned. That's you know, that would be, I think, wrong for us to go forward with that. And I was here when they were put in, and until she brought it up, I had just accepted it as fact that we do it. The other thing, and I'm sensitive to the lower income people, but we're gonna have to get some of the money from somewhere. So I don't know if we need to, I really support going to 3 tiers. The lower, either expanding the dollars on this, so the bigger users are gonna carry a bigger load. And so if it could work out that we could save 1 tier, 2 or 3%, we get, you know, which would the upper user to that for 2 or 3% or whatever it be was they're already being increased. So if you're going to use more water, you pay for more water. But the lower end users, fixed income, that's not using a lot. If they're fixed income using a lot of water, that's going to be rough on them. But I think you need to give them a possibility they can get within, stay within the bounds to maintain some of their fees less or some of their bills less. And I like that. The idea of LGIP, that's that's good. It's right now the banks are giving 3% and 4% on CDs for a year, but if going for 90 days, we'll look at it on a 90-day basis with the accounting person to see where we are and do a quarterly adjustment. I think that makes a lot of sense to me too. It's nice to have a large checking account, but it doesn't gain you anything like one in the stand or whatever, we're not moving forward at that point. If we can get I don't know if we can go in for that shorter term on the VIP or not.
Daily, you can move it daily.
Daily, okay, then I think that is I agree with you, that is very important that you can make money doing nothing that way, and that's the best thing.
And protecting it as well.
Then, if it goes back to 1%, it's not worth moving, and or 10% or whatever it is. But I think that I'd like to see that be whether a monthly or quarterly review, but at least a quarterly review how much money we got here and there. I know we ran our checking account, I think, on some of these funds all the way to that.
We need to do it more than. We need to do it more than.
It would require at least a weekly, we're talking about a more intensive cash management approach than we have now, and that would require at least a weekly look, in some cases a daily look to make sure we have enough in the bank account for cash flow.
Let's talk about that.
Whatever, I don't want to put an extra workload to say, because there's other things that the community is looking for you to do. I don't want to say we're going to put a workload onto you that you're every day going in adjusting the funds or something like that. But, to monitor in some way to make sure that our money we're using our money wisely.
We could trade 10 grand out of that annually, that's 20% of the 50 grand.
With minimal effort, we have an accountant. We don't write checks every day, $100,000 checks every day. That would be maybe tough. But no, I think you do check runs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, the other thing I wonder if we should go back to the sewer, those rates, because we talked at one point about maybe not raising them as much. We can afford that better there. I know it's not a lot, but at this point, we're looking for every dime and we can find. And maybe we can revisit that. See what we can do to minimize that. So could we revisit that next week? Just go over those numbers again?
For me to make these revisions, it is a extremely time-consuming process. So I'd like to have some direction tonight, so I can spend the next 2 weeks or so getting this done. So if you have a goal in mind for the ending sewer balance, I can work off of that.
So I have a question, since we haven't finished fiscal 23, can we undo the franchise fee for fiscal 23? And here's why I'm suggesting it. Because it's putting us into a crisis situation in the water fund. General fund is discretionary. We can make cuts there. We are in the business of producing water and processing sewage. And transferring money, or we charge other utilities that are profit utilities that use our services. Again, I still don't understand this franchise fee to ourselves. It sounds like we're charging a fee to pay for the general fund. And that's not related. And then we had this discussion, remember, about the utility fee that was going to be charged to pay for City Hall, and that was not allowable. I think this is a kind of a similar way, but it ain't right. It might be legal, but if the utility fund is flush, I support it. I do. I do, but it's causing us to raise rates an unacceptable level when we don't need to. Because we're doing this, we're doing an interfund transfer, and we said we weren't gonna do that, but that's in effect what we're doing.
And the franchise fee on the sewer would not, that wouldn't affect the water at all. So I mean,
No, but
If we-
it's the same thing.
yeah, I know, but
I think if we step away from one, we step away from both.
okay,
And,
Alright.
and we need to
That's
do it.
Well,
for-
unless one's flush, and it's not exactly flush, because again, we're
Well,
raising, you know, I mean, I'm for
but if,
raises in rate.
if we step away from both, that might help us with sewer rates.
And I realize that might cause a problem in the general fund, but that's something we have to deal with. That's discretionary.
And we need to do it before June 30th too.
So do we
So we're not
want,
doing it this
I understand.
year, so we have to do it.
I
So,
understand.
Jeremy,
No, I just agree with you. If this is something we can't wait till July 1st to think about doing, but that door is locked. And
so,
I don't know if it's possible to do. If we-
To do
if we
what?
if we've already transferred money from the water franchise fee into the general fund, can we move
It's
it
a
back
journal
out?
entry.
It's
before
just
the
a
closing
journal
votes?
entry,
I'm
Don.
sorry?
It's just on paper right now.
I know that, but can we go the other way before?
So I am confused right now. Is the council asking if you can reverse franchise fees that were charged in this fiscal year?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Since the fiscal year isn't closed out, is that an adjustment that can be made?
That
It's just a
would,
question.
that would require, that would require a supplemental budget from the council, and I would just need to look into that. Depending on the amounts involved, we might need to advertise and have a public hearing. I would just need to look at the numbers, but it's possible.
Well, we need to tell him what we want. So we can make some definite, you know.
Well, definitely for the fiscal year 23-24 budget that we're looking at.
Right,
It's
definitely
31,
for
that's
that.
31 grand. Oof.
I think what we're asking for.
SCADA system.
Pardon?
A third of the cost of the SCADA system.
So we're asking for,
Supplemental budget.
No, not necessarily.
no,
Or
we're
whatever it
asking
takes
for him
To
to,
move, whatever it takes to move. that.
First, we're just talking about this budget that we're dealing with, going
Okay.
forward, not going backwards.
Okay, I know.
That's a second question, is whether we can go back.
so we're asking him to analyze the franchise fees and what that would do, how that would help us with the water and what it would, and how it would affect the general fund. Does that make sense, Jeremy?
Yes,
Okay, so we want that for sure. What else do we want him to look at? Do we want to revisit sewer? Just, I need the numbers again. I can go dig them out, I guess, but we talked about not raising the sewer or lowering the raising of the sewer or something like that. It wasn't a lot of help, but it's, like I said, we're looking for every month, any week. We want to talk about that again next week. Excellent. Yes, no.
Well, it's hard for me because this is what I do for a living. So to me, it would be, and Jeremy and I talked about this. I, sent this to him. We talked briefly about it, about what it's gonna take. It's a spreadsheet exercise. You start doing what you can do.
So you're talking about finding all the work.
Yeah, that's why I have a problem with, what do you want the number to be? I don't wanna pick the number. I wanna do the right thing on budget and then let's see if it's acceptable and whether we can stop there or whether we need to look further. That's what I'd rather do than say, I want the ending balance to be this and the rate to be that, and then we, somehow do some kind of crazy stuff.
Okay, so
But to me, it's just so clear in my head, I have a hard time articulating direction to Jeremy.
My only pushback on that, and thank you, Jeremy, I do think it's appropriate to ask us to make a decision on what we want the ending fund balance to be. I agree with you that asking that at the same time of asking a rate is maybe not necessary, but I do think it's appropriate to ask us what we are comfortable with for an ending fund balance for a contingency.
Okay, well, I think 40 grand is comfortable. We did that last year.
And that's
And I thought we'd already talked about that.
That's an ending
so I
fund
thought
balance
that was-
separate from the contingent fund. So that would be an ending balance of 80, then an ending fund balance of 40 plus the separate contingent, which is Jeremy's question.
Well, then I'm not in favor of 8.
See, that is.
See, this is where municipal accounting is just a little different than,
But the thought is crossed my head, as much as I hate it, frankly, I love having, but do we lower our contingency? I mean, down to 40 would be something.
I would like to cut that rate increase by half. I just think that 23% is absolutely unacceptable. 12.5 would be outrageous, but that's the situation we're in because we can't go backwards.
That what we want Jeremy to look for.
I'm confused on picking a number without picking a goal that we're trying to accomplish. Like if we're trying to get the fund balance so that the water treatment is running net even, then we need to know what that number is. If we just pick a number and say 12.5% is the number that we like, what does that mean? Does that mean we're meeting our bills? Does it mean we're not meeting our bills? Does it mean we're making
Right.
contingency? Like I'm not comfortable just throwing a dart at the wall and saying 12.5%, that's the number.
Okay,
I want to know what we are actually trying to accomplish with the council with that.
okay, well, at the last budget committee meeting, I thought we'd said that, and then when things came back, or was it the last? I'm getting mixed up, sorry, sleep deprived. One thing we didn't ask for was to increase this SCADA budget by 30 grand, and that just poof, fell out of air. I don't remember us talking about that at all, but that just appeared. We never gave direction to that. I think your explanation was that in looking at it again, think that maybe it might be higher.
Yes,
And so that got 30 grand got thrown in there with no discussion of this. So that's why I guess I'm having a hard time giving very specific things when then other things come in that. I mean, he's the budget administrator. I don't think we need to tell him, put down the 2, carry the 1 and do that. I mean, he's a professional here. But the 30 grand came out of nowhere. And just was there, and that was a surprise.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to address that because I can understand the concern. The first year's payment for the private loan was not factored in the water fund's budget and therefore not reflected in the rates. The sewer fund was, but the private one not. I wanted to make sure there was enough appropriation in case we needed it. So that was the thought process behind that.
It's a big number and it's an in case and it wasn't discussed. And it set us back because we had the big increase set and then the error was found and we thought, oh great, some breathing room, and then it went away again. And I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm frustrated. The concept is, we cannot put utility rate burdens on the backs of the citizens to fund the general fund.
And we'll look at that.
Mr. Mayor, what I would propose is that I remove the franchise fees for next budget year and update the rates to reflect that. And also look at any cuts or options that could be made to try to bring down the rate increase at least a half at where it currently stands. Is that the direction that the council would like to go?
And knowing that we're gonna be dealing with this going forward, it's not over and we'll continue to do whatever we can to we're gonna have rate increases for a while.
Yeah, so if you can analyze where we might find some other, like, what she was suggesting, places like that.
Okay, one other thing that I might mention is the council, might want to, depending on what you see on the 20th, there may need to be a special meeting before June 30th, because, you know, there are going to be impacts to the general fund. And I don't know what that's going to be right now, but it's like anything in budgeting, when it's like squeezing a balloon. You squeeze something here, it pops out over here. So, you know, there might need to be another meeting between now and June 30th.
Well, I would guess it to,
Is it going to require another public meeting, a public hearing for what you're about to,
No, the only situation that would trigger a new public hearing is if the council increases appropriations 10% greater than what the budget committee approved.
I think we're good there.
we've got it down 23rd. Still have four.
well, and that's Thursday. If I'm on the 24th. That's the weekend. So. We'll manage, although we can do Zooms. And get on the Zoom call. So, we can manage it. So Jeremy will do whatever we need to do.
We gotta ask her.
Yeah, and so we gotta make sure we let him go do that. This has been the longest budget season of our lives, yours too. But
Well,
it's the right thing to do.
We're facing some difficult
Things we do.
difficult situations, and we owe it to the citizens to do the work.
On the current year franchise that have already been paid in, do we pay them in monthly?
Yes.
Do we not make the last month's payment?
Resolution by the council would be required.
At least it takes one.
Could we make that motion?
I'm just gonna say we do it at the 20th.
I think we need to look at some numbers here. I don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
pull back on
That's why
20.
we need his analysis. Yeah.
Yeah. Would that be possible?
So do you have enough direction, Jeremy?
But honestly, I get it, but
It's a small
he's the expert. You are the expert. You who tell us what will work and what won't work. And
So am I hearing that the council would like to not have a final months of franchise payments to the general fund? Because I need to know that's going to affect our ending projections for
No,
this
no.
year.
We just said,
That's too much for just a few thousand.
I know we brought that up, but we're saying, no, don't go there. Just work on franchise for 22,
forward.
23, 24.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
You have a short timetable to do a lot.
I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. I know it's not gonna be. I know this is gonna cause trouble, but 23% increase.
Mayor, I just want to jump in and thank Maureen for taking this
Yeah.
time to go through that and try and find solutions to this problem. The support from my people.
Yeah,
I
we all
agree.
do.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, you're the one that do that.
Oh,
fast out of all of us.
Minor.
Huh? He's not the minor.
Anything else by the council on, the budget? We do have, time for a public comment if anybody wants to speak. Go ahead.
Doris, 657 North Moss, I think you guys are doing the right thing. You can't carry a town this side and back. Not that many of them here. We're not that big. So, gonna have to find another way, I think this is the right thing. Kudos to Maureen, I think 23%. My garbage is going up $80. 23% plus $80, that's a couple $100 more a month for a lot of people out there. Saying how much water we use, that's a lot of money. So we want this town to grow, but we want it to grow in the right way. And I keep hearing that's the diverse part of it. We want people here that can afford to bring the family to build the houses. So I think you're doing the right thing. Might be difficult, but I think in the long run, we're gonna be better off. So,
I had the occasion to have a duplex empty for a whole month. And my bill for water and sewer was $95.78. And we didn't use a drop of water. I'm just saying that as to let you know kind of where we're at right now. And that could go on, whatever, quite a lot of money there. So if you're looking at another 20 or 25% increase, and that's if they don't do anything. The other thing I thought about as we're sitting here talking about all this, and I don't know, Max, if this is something you guys could do, but my brother worked for IBM for a lot of years, and he made a lot of money because they paid him a bonus according to the amount of money that he could save the company with his idea. I don't know if the city can do something like that or not, but you got employees out there that are looking at this at ground level and thinking of things that you never thought of before. I had a bunch of drivers at IBM at UPS, and they would tell me about different routes that they could take that would save time. And time, of course, is money in almost everything. And they knew these things. We used to pay them bonus money for coming up with that. I don't know if the city can do that kind of thing or not, but it would be interesting to know that instead of Max going out, and I heard him say that save the city like $10,000 because you did some work out at the sewer plant that would have cost the city $10,000 to get done, but they did it themselves. And there should be some incentive, and you can't believe how much money that might save you in every damn department. And maybe it can be done for the city, maybe not. I just don't know. But it's something to think about. This is a time where the rubber is hitting the road. And you guys, I see you really trying and agonizing over this, and it's a tough one because the easy way out is to charge the customer, but that may not be the best way. It really may not be. And I thank you all for really taking a hard look at this. And if you're picking up some money from a franchise fee, that's great. There's probably more there that can be done as well. I don't know. It seems it's silly the way that the state makes you do the things that you have to do. And sometimes some city ought to say, that's enough of this crap. We're going to do it this way, and I don't care what you say. We're not stealing any money, but it's a tough way to run a business. It really is. I'm looking at it from a whole different standpoint. You got to find some ways. They're there, sure. Bill George, 125.
Yes.
We'll be going into executive session, will be closed, and will not be reconvening, taking any action. So the regular session is closed at I hope. 8:50.